Hi everybody, I'm Brent Kelly with the Stoker 17 Video Squad, and tonight I'm speaking with Josh Finney and Kat Rocha, authors as well as publishers, being the co-masterminds behind 01 Publishing. And thanks for chatting with me tonight, you two.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here.
Thank you for having us.
So you're putting on a workshop at StokerCon called Writing for Comics and Graphic Novels. What should attendees expect to gain from visiting your workshop?
Is that the current name now?
That's what's in the program.
Well, I guess I will stick to what the original focus was pitched to me as, and that was that it was about putting horror into comics. It wasn't so much writing as writing horror stories in comics. And the medium itself does have its strength and challenges when doing that. And so that's primarily what I'm going to focus on, is how to make your comics scary. How it differs from novels, how it differs from films, what to avoid, what does work.
Well, you know, it is a different medium for telling a horror story than, say, prose or movies. You know, you can't have a jump scare in a graphic novel. You can't, like, build tension through words and talk about, you know, how terrified your main character is feeling in a graphic novel. A lot of it has to be done through storytelling, through visuals. And so that's what this workshop is all about, how to create mood, not only you know, with working with your artist to create mood, but also how can you create mood going from panel to panel. And it's completely different than writing storyboard.
It's mood and it's motion. You need an artist who's able to imply motion and trick the eye into filling in the gaps that are otherwise not there. So that's going to be the primary focus. I'll start out and give kind of a basic 101 of the comics medium, how it basically works, and how it's different than other mediums. And then we'll dive right into the horror concepts. And I'll use some examples of what works and what doesn't. I'll use some rather well-known books and show where we have, like, well, I won't name any names. I'll save it for the presentation, but show books where it has every reason to succeed and it doesn't, and other books where you wouldn't expect it, but then show why the mechanics of the page layout and the writing work.
Can you tell us about some of the comics you've written for?
Oh, sure, no problem. The most recent one here is Casefile Arkham. And I would say this is really my only legit horror title. We're having a follow-up, another Casefile Arkham book coming out later this year. I also did a dark cyberpunk story, Utopiates, as well. And with Casefile Arkham, it was quite an enjoyable experience. It's a kind of a seamless merging of Philip Marlowe-esque Raymond Chandler PI stories. I mean, it's set in the 1940s, but the setting that this PI works in is Arkham, Massachusetts, and it's Lovecraft's Arkham. It's his universe. It's a hard-boiled detective in every way. It's a hard-boiled film noir in every way, except the setting is Arkham. And that is where the horror elements become unavoidable. And so in a lot of ways, our detective is new to everything as well. The first case involves ghouls. The stories, the original idea was that every story would pretty much intersect with existing Lovecraft stories and run concurrently or side by side with them. So in the first one, the primary plot is running alongside Pickman's Model. And for those familiar with the story, Pickman's Model is about this artist who his artwork is just too realistic and too horrifying, and the scenes it's portraying have a realism that the viewer just can't believe came out of his head, and later on you find out that no, he has models. And that was the start point for the first story. This artist Pickman goes missing, just like he does in the original story. At the end of the story, Pickman goes missing. So in my story, the PI is hired to find him, and he begins to find out that there's an underground world there's an Arkham Underground, and then there's the Underground. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And I would say the scares in that one, were based primarily on the classic idea of getting you attached to a character, putting them through hell, putting them at risk, and not relying on things like just flashy art or something jumping out at you, at the last moment. So,
Well, is there anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
Come to the class. It's on Friday at 2 o'clock at StokerCon as well. Yeah.
And yes, if you want to hear the history of and the evolution of the gray alien myth, where did the myth come from? How did the idea grow? How did it leak its way into our culture and become part of the mass cultural unconsciousness of little gray men coming down to stick things in your body parts? I'm doing a presentation on that.
And that is also on Friday at 10 a.m.
Awesome.
And it's a lot weirder than you think.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time. Everybody get signed up for Josh and Kat's workshop and check out the presentation on the graves. And take care,
Thank
you
you.
two.
Thank you.